Good evening. Welcome to Authentic Expressions. My name is Mige Klim. I am glad you're here. So today's topic is From Snark to Spark, Ditching Passive Aggressive Habits. We are grateful for Laurel Ridge for sponsoring this program. Laurel Ridge is a behavioral health hospital, and they offer personalized treatment for all populations. Their interest is to help you into your journey to wellness. There are services for children, adolescents, adults, military dependents, active duty service members, veterans, first responders. They offer inpatient services, outpatient services, substance abuse treatment, residential treatment. Call 210 491 3591 for no cost assessment. Laurel Ridge is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their mission is to save lives, heal families, create hope. All right, I see some familiar names. Welcome. Again, today's topic is From Snark to Spark, Ditching Passive Aggressive Habits. So I see Victoria, EK, Charge. Hi, everyone. So glad you are here. Be sure to post your question. Welcome, Bridget. The topic is From Snark to Spark, Ditching Passive Aggressive Habits. So let me have your questions. Hi, Leah. So good to see familiar names and faces. So while I am waiting for your question, I am going to read you some quotes related to self respect. Respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that no longer serves you, grows you, or makes you happy. Robert Thiel. Again, respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that no longer serves you, grows you, or makes you happy. Robert Thiel. So I see lots of familiar names. So tell me what questions you have related to passive aggressive behaviors, passive aggressive relationships. How to deal with passive aggressive behaviors at work or in your family dynamics. What are some things that you want to do, need to do? Okay, what questions might you all have? So another quote is self-respect is to the soul as oxygen is to the body. Thomas Sass. Again, self-respect is to the soul as oxygen is to the body. So remember, the goal is to always respect yourself in all relationships. All right, tell me what questions you have. I am waiting. So, how to ditch passive aggressive behaviors. All right. Okay. Your only job is to be your truest self by Chelsea Diane. Your only job is to be your truest self. Yes, I'm here. Okay. Yes. And yet another quote is self-respect grows from living a life you admire. So let me know what questions you have. So I see familiar names. So Victoria goes, how do I express my feelings and concern to my sister-in-law when she randomly lashes out on me? That's a great question, a challenging situation. So to get some clarifying context, so I wonder, when she lashes out, what is the scenario and what has just happened? Like what triggers the lashing out and how how commonly does she do that? How often does she do that? So I want to understand the backdrop in order to, be able to respond to that question. Because when people lash out, they have some context. So I'm wondering what context it is. So if you give me that, oh, typically when she doesn't get her way. So when she doesn't get her way related to decisions, her didn't get her way related to what? So help me with that. That will allow me to answer specifically. Okay, Jage goes, what advice would you give someone when they're afraid to address poor family behaviors and they feel they are always belittled? Okay. So it's a historical chronic behavior over time. When somebody is the poor family behavior, I'm assuming that this person is an adult. And when you're in the midst of someone's behavior and they're continuously tolerating disrespect, that is when they, people will continue to dole out the same thing. So it's very important when treated poorly, it's important that people walk away. People do not set themselves up by, you know, repeatedly letting others smear on them. So it's very important that the person learns to walk away. The person learn to, once the behavior shows up, learn to not tolerate it. So walking away, while we are not trained to do that, it's very important that we walk away to protect ourselves because we need to advocate for ourselves rather than wait for other people to change. Okay. So Victoria goes, so when the sister-in-law doesn't get her way, she lashes out. So my question is, she lashes out like a child, what age child? So I'm hearing a child that is throwing a temper tantrum when she doesn't get her way. So if you are comfortable with it, I would have a conversation with the person before the next episode. You can say things like, I wonder what happened that caused the lashing out last time at the last holiday. Can you help me understand more about that? So when you come from a place of understanding and helping them, dialogue as to what was uncomfortable, what was unsettling for them, help, understand that might help them talk more rather than do the same thing with little to no results. So I would write down some questions that I would probe into in order to have an understanding of that behavior. Okay, Josh Zachary says, yes, she's in doubt, and it is very normal behavior for them to belittle her, I'm assuming. Okay, EK goes, how do you address a spouse who keeps saying sure but never follows through with what is agreed upon? So it is very important to also think about when they fail to follow through and the pattern, like a Victoria's situation, the pattern is repeated. I would not set myself up to have, the next promise and not be delivered. So I would change the way I ask the question, or I would change my approach in working with them. So you have to think about how you want to set yourself up to be successful, but not set yourself up to get the same passive answer that is, to me, that's very discounting. They want you out of their hair. Their goal is to not solve the problem, but just to get you out of their hair, to pacify you with a simple, sure answer. So I would think about effective ways to set myself up for success by, doing, I need to understand the situation. Also by doing something that is different. If you keep asking close-ended questions, I would change the way I ask. I would look for a discussion. I would look for a way to say, you keep saying sure, so but there's little follow through. Help me understand what's going on. So it's very important to have open conversations so that you do not deal with the same frustration day in, day out. And after 4 years, 5 years, you find yourself in the same murky water. So my rule of thumb is if something has happened twice, and if I do it again the third time, it's more on me than on the other person. So when people kind of discount you with simple answers, I would not even approach them. I would do a different examination about my behavior, how I can set myself up to be more successful. Okay, I can have a simple conversation with her when she calms down. Yes, calm down and also think about what you want to ask her. So enter into that conversation with curiosity, with inquisitiveness. And chances are the problem will not be solved, but you will at least have a conversation. And you can end the conversation with, how can I help you? How can I support you? When things like that happen, what can we do to keep it from happening? I enjoy spending time with you, but what can we do? What can I do to support you rather than have to do these temper tantrums, have to do these episodes? So you can also express your dissatisfaction and your discouragement. And if she lashes out again, learn to walk away because it is not your job to just stand there and take berating behaviors. Okay, Leah goes, how can I speak to someone who is speaking aggressively without upsetting them? Okay, I'm going to reread the question. How can I speak to someone who is speaking passive aggressively without upsetting them? Well, there are a few things you want to think about. When you deliver something, it lands, and how it lands, is really up to them to take it or not take it. And you cannot protect people, but you can speak your piece and allow them to digest it accordingly. And many times when people are upset, it's their issue. It doesn't mean that you have to control how you speak, because if you navigate around, the outcomes, then you would never say things that are true to what you want to speak up about. So it's very important that you think about speaking up for yourself. And when you see passive aggressive behavior, you know, ask what is upsetting you, what is bothering you. So, what is going on? So, be able to call out the behavior. So then you go in with a desire and interest in understanding the person, in understanding the situation. So take out the desire to control outcomes. Your job is to speak your truth and let the outcome land however it lands. Okay. All right. Thank you for those questions. What might be other questions related to handling passive aggressive people, be it at work, at church, or in your family? Okay. So I'm going to read another quote on self-respect. Self-respect grows from living a life you admire. So the goal in your life is always to build your self-respect. You don't need to think about how you want to keep people from being hurt, keep people from um, hearing your truth. Remember, your job is to speak for yourself and let the truth always be known. Many times we go around trying to insulate people from having to deal with pain. The when people deal with pain, it's also about growth. It's not always about painful. When we are able to have honest conversations, then you're promoting growth. So think in those terms. Okay. Any other questions related to how to ditch passive aggressive behaviors? How to ditch passive aggressive habits? So, a question I want you to think about: passive aggressive habits on your end is what? What do you do to keep you from speaking up? What do you do that constantly set you up to deliver sarcastic half truths? So, how can you speak from a place of, saying what you want, being congruent and being transparent? So, it's very important that you are transparent. Okay, so Leah has a question. How can I identify passive aggressive behaviors in myself? Very good. So, passive aggressive is sarcasm, is delivering half the message, not delivering the truth, being leading but not totally getting the whole truth out. So it leaves the person guessing. So once you say something, the person goes, now, did she say this? Did she mean that? I wonder what was said. I wonder what was behind the message. So you're constantly being delivering, with emotionally laden energy where you are not upfront about what you want. Because when you're upfront and direct, when the conversation ends, the person is clear, there is understanding, and there's clarification. They're able to say, yes, clearly say that, yes, this is what the person is asking for. But with passive aggressiveness, we tend to be very indirect and we tend to beat around the bush rather than clearly ask, state the request, or express your true feelings. Like, I wish I get this in the relationship, rather than say, it's important to me that we are transparent in our relationship. So having a projective voice rather than a direct voice are some examples of passive aggressive behavior. Hi, Felicia, good to see you. What questions might you have related to ditching passive aggressive habits in yourself? So I hope that answers your question, Leah, regarding passive aggressive behavior in yourself. All right, EK goes. How can you approach a boss who frequently uses passive aggressive behavior to manipulate the department into working outside of normal hours? Let me know what passive aggressive behaviors are used. Like, does he imply, she implies, does he or she beat around the bush rather than say, can you work from this to this? Or just being leading but not clearly stating. So when people are passive aggressive, you might want to address it by saying, is this what you're trying to ask us? That you want us to work an hour longer, 2 hours longer? So I would call out the behavior rather than be evasive yourself. So it's very important that when you're around passive aggressive behavior, call it out and then be able to say to them, it helps me when you're able to tell me what you want, because then I can answer your questions clearer rather than beat around the bush and having to guess at it. So, your approach in dealing with your boss, if you're upfront, then it will probably reduce the passive aggressive behavior in them. So, every time they do that, call up, is this the question you're asking? I like to have clarification, then I can answer you better. Let them know your job is, I'm interested in working with you. So when you state things clearly, I will be glad to, see what I can do to support you. So share with them your desires as well. And it could be that in their history, that is how their family communicated. So it helps for you to understand a little bit of people's history because whatever they do at work, at church, at home, chances are they have had a long history of the same behaviors at home. All right, Felicia goes, if a person doesn't feel safe with their body or has a history of people pleasing, is it possible that one might become passive aggressive? That's a good question. And that is a kind of complex in that I would love to understand more about the history of the person. Chances are, when people are passive aggressive, they probably saw a lot of it in their parents, where things are never direct, when things are often implied, suggested. Like, don't you think you want to eat this? Rather than say, would you like to have a portion of this? So, so things are often implied. So it is important to um, to understand the family dynamics so that you can see what their history, how their families communicate or not communicate. Because in communication, when people don't say anything, it's also communication. Okay. If a person doesn't feel safe within their body or has history of people pleasing, is it possible that's why one might become passive aggressive? It can be learned from their parents. It can be learned from um, watching people not ask for things openly. Okay. All right. EK goes, talks around the task. The boss usually talks around the task and uses guilt in the form of being less than a good teacher. Okay. They talk around the task and uses guilt. So guilting people to behave or to work a certain way and not expressing it clearly, I'm assuming. So again, I don't know whether you're comfortable bringing it up. Like, you know, share with them what your desire is. It helps me when you let me know what your interest is, what you want to see done, because I can work with you. And so when you call out their guilty um, application, constantly beating around the bush and guilting people into certain things, call out the behavior and say, it helps me when you do this. It is important to me that we can work together as a team when we speak clearly, directly to each other. So rather than fixing the boss, changing their behavior, speak from a place of, it helps me, it's important to me, I really like it. So come up from a place of what you want, because then you are modeling direct request rather than waiting for them to change or waiting for them to, you know, be different in their communication. Many times when you take charge and speak openly, directly, clearly, um, transparently, then they see that because you are probably one of the fewer persons that they have been around that can use direct form of communication. So, so model those behaviors to them rather than try to change them, because then they can see how direct delivery is expressed. And if you're comfortable, share with them. It helps me when you're direct with me. It helps me when you clearly state what you want, because then I don't have to guess, because guessing is hard. And if you can take a one down approach saying that, you know, I struggle with this. So when you are direct, it helps me. So take some blame and say, I'm not good about reading minds. So when you are direct, it helps me tons. All right. So Felicia goes, is implied and learned family history. Yes. Yes. When there's a passive aggressive behavior in the person, it's usually implied. Okay, Felicia has a question. How may one not allow passive aggressive comments loop in their mind? Okay, let me see if I can understand that better. How can how may one not allow passive aggressive comments loop in their mind? So to how to spin out of it, how to spin out of passive aggressive comments. So how to think differently, if that's what I'm hearing. So sometimes not allow the thoughts to be intrusive. Okay, very good. So not allow thoughts to be intrusive. So many times we are stuck in a cycle and we are not able to loop out of that cycle. It's important to either shift physically, to move physically so that you change the energy that's in your head, focus on a different task, journal about what is bothering you. Because when we are looping around in our head and then we are circling, not getting any place, take 10 minutes to journal. You don't have to be long and laborious. Just say, okay, I'm going to set a timer and do 10 minutes of just writing down as to what is bothering me. So write down unfiltered and see what thoughts show up. So give yourself permission to have just 10 minutes. So if you can distract yourself, redirect your brain, 10 minutes, talk to a friend. Like I said, do a journal, talk to a friend, do something, clean out your garage, do something that is different to take your mind. But if you can journal and look at what are these intrusive thoughts about. If there are these thoughts about self-blame, is this thought about guilt, that you've been guilted into doing something? So do something to redirect your thoughts and to call out what is burping within your headspace. Okay, Jajay says, sure, not allowing it to live rent free in our heads. Yes, move physically, talk to a friend, do something, journal. Yes, shift when you don't like the way your headspace is going and it's stuck and it's in a cyclical motion, do something. Always journal it and then journal with thoughts that are just bothering you and see what shows up. All right, I appreciate your question, and I'm going to close with a quote. Respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that no longer serves you, grows you, or makes you happy. Robert Q. So next week, February 12th, the topic is Screen Time Smarts, Tech Without the Tantrums. So I'd love to hear your questions related to how to handle digital devices with children and teens. So thank you for joining me this evening. And again, we are grateful for Laurel Ridge for sponsoring this program. So, Laurel Ridge has services for children, adolescents, adults, military dependents, and active duty service members. Be sure to call 210-491-3591. Thank you for joining me this evening. Have an awesome rest of your week and see you then. Bring a question.